Bang, bang.
Bang, bang, baby.
Good afternoon. How you doing, my friend? It's actually morning. It's 11:30. How you doing?
It is. My gosh, it feels like it's about 3, 4 o'clock. I'm doing amazing, man. How are you doing?
Awesome. Yeah, I feel the same way. As I said, afternoon. I've been up since 5, so I've worked a normal day already. So, man, I'm super psyched. We got our episode part 2 of our series on team building. So we'll dive right into it here, man. We got some great feedback from the last one. A lot of people ready for this next one. So let's dive right into it. So the first, we'll just kind of like give a little bit of a recap on what we went over. So the Agents Academy here, hosted by myself and Mr. Amazing Joe Rosen. Our 3-part series here that deconstructs the process of building a team down to the fundamentals, illuminating the foundation needed and core questions to ask yourself as you begin your team. So really, always kind of start with a question. What is your why? Why do you want to do this? And it might be money, it might be freedom, it might be leverage. I don't know. It might be like, I've always wanted to have a team. But I think it's important to really ask that question, because when things start to get a little bit difficult, if it is just money, you better be super focused on money.
Yep.
Right. I think the big why, Simon Sinek put it out there, is such a poignant thing, really understanding why we're getting out of bed in the morning. Right, Joe?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So our core values and mission statement, that really is the core of understanding what do you stand for. Anytime something happens with my team, this is something that Joe and I went over. And today is a very special day. Today is Joe Rosen's 1-year anniversary of starting a team. Now, we can get into, do we think Joe could have ever started a team on his own that early? He has been a leader. He's been a leader of men, in battle. And so he is hard tested in leadership. But that being said, I think that, part of aligning with us, one of the things that we went over first, Joe, right, was what are your core values? So if you ever run into issues with somebody on the team, or somebody that's, that could be the transaction coordinator dealing with somebody that's a buyer or a seller, not necessarily a buyer's agent, guys. Remember, we're going to get in here later. A team does not necessarily mean, buyer's agents and this whole thing. It could be you and a transaction coordinator. So if you don't have your core values set down, if an issue arises, you basically pull out your core values and say, what's going on with this problem? And, our core values, deconstructing, I love that word, Candace, into the core values, what's going on is helpful. That was one of the first things that we went over, Joe, and you're like, really? Is that like, are we going to talk about CRMs? Are we going to talk about leads? I'm like, you really want to get into your core values.
Yeah, everything else revolves around it, So you got 2 big things going on. The first thing is, on the day when you hit adversity and you are putting up with people issues, right? When you could be dealing with your own transactions, moving way faster, but instead you're dealing with a brand new rookie agent or, their contractual issues, you're really going to want to quit if you don't have the why behind you, if you don't have the mission statement behind you. And you don't want to think about that when you're in an emotional state. You want to think about that when you're in a logical state trying to plan for your future. And I think that that's really critical. And then day to day, just everything you do, from our training to our boot camps to us building the Treasure Coast Alliance, these Agents Academies, all of it. Anytime you don't know, should we do this or should we do that? Because you and I have these conversations all the time. Yeah. Do we do this or do we do this? And a lot of times we'll kind of slow ourselves down and say, well, let's go back to our mission statement. Let's go back to our values. Let's go back to the intent of what it is we're doing. Let's talk about that first, and then let's move forward. And it almost always makes the decision incredibly easy.
I love that, man. And, I would only offer as well, I didn't put up my core values. Joe didn't put up his core values for a reason.
Yeah.
Because if we put ours up, then it's probably something you're going to maybe parrot, because people go do comfort. People go do ease. I'll just do what they did. You really need to understand what your mission statement is personally. It's not the sexiest, it's not the funnest thing, but it's really important. It's building that strong foundation. Once you do it once, and you can go back and revisit it and edit it. We have over the years a little bit, but I think it's really important to understand that, guys. So, getting your mission statement and your core values down. I don't want to hammer it, but it's important. If you ever want to reach out, I can talk to you about that. Joe will talk to you about that. DM us. we're happy to discuss that with you. Now, again, why are you building that team? Is it for more money, more freedom? I'll offer that money can offer freedom. Freedom's in here too. So more efficiencies, definitely. Building a team, it can, if you do it properly. If you don't do it properly, it actually can cost you inefficiency. So if you go out and just like go straight from the buyer, straight from the transaction coordinator to I want to just get buyers agents, and then you don't have a system, it'll actually bog down your production. So you really got to do it. You got to do it sequentially right. So again, efficiency will come from creating that team. Yeah, you can get some certainty. You know, certain things are going to be taken care of if you have agreements. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Yeah, you're going to get more comfort. Money can create comfort, again, but you can have all the money in the world. But if you don't have this squared away up here, you're not going to be free and you're not going to be comfortable. You're going to constantly be uncomfortable. So ask yourself the reason why you want to create a team. Is this the first step in understanding your pain points, your goals, and the standards you'll set to achieve those goals through the vehicle of your team? So we're just reiterating here, guys. Why are you building this team? Understanding that's what's going to get you out of bed in the morning. Like, oh man, it's 5 a.m. I know I got to put a 10-hour day in. But I'm gonna take the pain right now. I'm gonna take the discomfort for comfort in the future. Like you might have that vision of like, hey, I want to go to Hawaii with my kids in 3 years from now. I don't have the money for that right now. Yep. That's going to get you out of bed for that comfort of you on the beach, drinking the margarita, the kids on Lanai Beach, surf coming in, looking at loggerhead turtles, whatever it is, right, Joe? Did you want to add anything to this, bro?
No, I think that's exactly it. Is just kind of realizing, and I'll take it a step further with what you just said. When it comes to comfort, right? Everybody wants freedom now. They want to go to Little Billy's baseball game, right? Any comfort or convenience you take now is going to create long-term displeasure or discomfort, right? But anytime you can take that inconvenience and discomfort now, it's going to create comfort and convenience later. So it's either a now or a later. And for me, the now is always this big and the later is always this big. So I try to take as much short-term inconvenience and discomfort as possible.
I love that, man. And with it, I'll just add a little piece. I did a post the other day. I only got like 14 comments on it because these aren't as sexy as, pictures of my daughter, which is not sexy, but they're cute. The people that end up not taking risk now end up being the biggest risk takers in the future. So if you don't get out of comfort zone, you are going to be probably more uncomfortable in the future. Yep. If you don't have foresight, if you don't have vision for what's going to happen to you, it's given if you just want to stay in that comfort zone of being an individual agent, you're going to be, which might be fine. You're going to be 65, 70 years old and going out with buyers if you don't figure out how to get some systems and efficiencies in place. And that might be, but again, getting back to what's your vision? If you're like, hey, I want to be doing this when I'm 70 years old. Awesome. Like now you don't need to go and start. That's now you know. But if you want more freedom, if you want more efficiency, then you got to go down this road in our business. There's other businesses, the people usually that buy McDonald's buy multiple McDonald's. Yep. Right? They get multiple Subways. It's not just one. So just understand that's where we want to go. We don't want to beat that up. So again, we want to we can pontificate about why you would start a team. I love that word, pontificate. And the simplest reason is freedom through leverage. The purest objective of a team is to create more efficiencies that open the opportunity to achieve higher goals. This is just genius, right? It's so succinct. It's so true. Joe, lean into that, man.
Yeah. So as a single agent, you are able to move a lot faster. You can just you're not going to have all the people problems, right? People problems slow you down. But once you want to start getting bigger, a single agent is only able to do 50, 60, 70 transactions a year. If you want to do more, and I'm talking you're working 90 hours a week, right? If you want to do more, you almost have to get a transaction coordinator, an assistant, an admin, an ISA, something, all of them, whatever, right? You might want to get buyer's agents. You might want to get a listing agent. You might want to get different things. And those things will create leverage. They'll create efficiencies. Your systems, there's so many parts to it. If you want simplicity, you can absolutely keep that at the single agent status. But if you're challenging yourself, like for me, it's not even money, right? It's literally when I'm 85 and I'm on my deathbed, I want to know that I pushed myself every single day to do something bigger and better. It really doesn't matter. Like the money just, to me, once you make a certain amount of money, it just doesn't matter anymore. For me, I have to grow. I have to grow. And you don't have to want that. That doesn't have to be a have to for you. But if that's something that you want, you've got to figure out how to leverage your time. You've got to figure out how to create little efficiencies that are going to get you ahead. If you want comfort, you want to make, I don't know, 100, 200 grand, be a single agent. And you can do that, I don't want to say easily, but it's going to come with less headaches, and just go do your 50 deals a year, right? But if you really want to push yourself, if you really want to give to the next generation of agents, if you really want to provide value, not just to your bank account and not just to your buyers and sellers, but also to the other agents in our industry, man, this is the way to do it.
Yeah. Well put, my man. So our next slide. Who are you hiring and when do you hire them? Just had a great coaching meeting. I just hired a coach.
Amazing coach.
Thank you. Yeah, he is amazing. And I've had many coaches over the years. And one of the first things that he really brought up was, who is your next hire? So really thinking, this is the thing, is like, where are you at? Where do you want to go? How can you get there the most efficient way with the least amount of frustration? That's what people want. Like, Joe and I are not about like, hey, you don't want comfort. It's like, why fall into holes if you don't have to fall into holes? You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be Lewis and Clark. And going out, if anybody knows who Lewis and Clark is, they found the way west. They're the first, white people to really find a way over the Rockies to California. Was before it was California. But the point is that no one had done it before. So they didn't know where the holes were. Guess what? This has been done before. So why would you go and try to figure it out yourself if Lewis and Clark said this is the best way to go? There's crazy Indians over that way. There's, a gorge over that way that you're going to get stuck in. That's why the map is to get this way. So part of that is, who is your next hire to help you to get you where you want to go? And we're going to get into that. So double check your decision. Do you have enough volume cash flow to make it work? So here's a really easy one. You don't have to have volume cash flow to hire a transaction coordinator. Pro tip number one, guys. You don't have to have that to hire a transaction coordinator that's going to work per deal now. Again, I've told my story ad nauseum about hiring a personal assistant, which took my business to the next level. Before there were transaction coordinators that did it per deal. So, really, you don't have to have a lot of money to create efficiency. So people are like, well, I got to make money to do it. No, you actually don't. Oh, I don't do enough deals, so I'm going to do them myself. No, wrong way to go. You actually want somebody to help you. A good transaction coordinator is actually like a mini coach. If you're a new agent, they're a mini coach and be like, don't say this, don't do that. This is the way you want to do it. You can actually hire them and they're going to help you understand your business better. And that's on a transaction basis. So is your value proposition in place? What are you offering? Are your systems in place? Training, coaching, mentorship, role play, CRMs, dialer, accountability tracker, marketing plan. Now, I want to overwhelm you guys with this because Joe and I can help you with this. We have a morning role play that you can plug into, and you don't have to be in our company.
Yep.
You can plug into that role play. Here's some training. Here's some coaching, mentoring ship that's happening right here that you don't even have to pay for, right? A CRM, there's a way to get really affordable CRMs with joining certain companies even that will give you a good, robust CRM that you don't have to go out and pay a bunch of money for. Joe, what is your dialer, Mojo Dialer? How much is that a month?
From memory, I think it's $150 a month. But if you've got a team, every additional person is $10.
Again, I'm just saying, like, create efficiency into a dialer here, just so you guys have a general understanding that it's not something you got to go and spend $2,000 on, and it's not something that you have to go and get a degree from MIT to figure out how to use. You know what I mean? Like this stuff. If you can't figure something like this out, then you might want to think about another profession. Like a dialer is actually not, and I'm not a techie kind of guy, right? But these things are not crazy. Now, an accountability tracker, do you have to go out and get CSU? No. You can go and use a spreadsheet that, you can learn online. Well, how do I go on a spreadsheet? Google it. You know what I mean? Like, you got to figure some things out, but my ultimate thing is you don't have to pay a bunch of money. Now, you can go and make money to have people figure things out. Again, back into the efficiencies, right? To have a Candace, to have a Monique, to have Joe's got, a transaction coordinator and so forth, working his way up to having an operations manager. You make enough money, you can have people to figure things out for you. But again, you don't have to have a lot of money for an accountability tracker. And guess what? Marketing plan, you can Google that. You can come to us. Like, these things are not big ticket items. Now, it might seem overwhelming, but it's brick by brick, step by step. Lay the bricks well. I met with an agent yesterday, and he was like, "Oh, I'm just so overwhelmed by all this, and I feel like I'm behind." I'm like, "Dude, you're 34. You know what I mean? Like, you're actually more mature than I was at 34. You just got to get out of your own head and stop saying it's too much and you're behind. You got to say, hey, what's the nenext brick that I can lay? And then what's the next brick that I can lay? I can help you with that, dude. You know what I mean? But my point is, do you have the skills and willing to develop leadership skills? Like, you got to read some books. You got to educate yourself. Joe, how much content is there online now? With YouTube, I mean, it's
endless.
I hate to be like gray hair guy. My days, like, I had to go and pay for these coaches. Like, these guys are right. Like, they had so much right here. It's right at your fingertips of that you can get leadership mentoring. Like, there wasn't any Agents Academy back when I started. There wasn't anybody to help. There was, but guess what? I had to pay. So just because something is YouTube free, which is not free. They're basically your attention for the ads, but that's a pretty low cost because you can literally look away. Some of you can skip and, so this stuff is not super costly, guys. And you do have to get a little up your education, but we're not asking you to break the bank here. When you're too busy to grow your business, that's the exact time to build your team. I love that. I have someone that I've been talking to for a couple of years now about our organization. And it's like, well, when the phone stops ringing, that's when I'll do it. I'm like, oh, are you going to wait for your business to fall off a cliff to, it's like, and I get it. The person's overwhelmed and It's like, unless you identify with being overwhelmed, right? Because right, Joe, that's a whole nother thing. Like, you got to ask yourself, what's going on up here? Like, are you comfortable with being overwhelmed? Like, you be like, oh, no. I was like, well, if that's who you identify with being is overwhelmed, that's what you're going to continue to be. Yeah. Until you say, and then going back to the whys, like, I don't want to be overwhelmed anymore. I want to be thinking about how creating leverage and having a future and all that. Okay, well, you got to start to step into that role. Like our guy Brent Grove says, you got to make room. You got to let go of some things to make room for others. And sometimes you got to let go of people. Sometimes you got to let go of things. Yeah. Sometimes you got to let go of habits to make room for that freedom and space and comfort that you want in your life on a higher level. That resonate at all with you, Joe?
Yeah, and I'd add two things. Looking at that quote, when you are too busy to grow your business, that's the exact time to build your team. I'd even back it up a little bit. I'd say whenever that date is, you probably want to start a team. If that's your intent, you want to start a team maybe 3, 6, 9 months before then. Because if you're too busy with your business, you're not going to have enough time to really focus on the team, right? So it does take some backwards planning. It does take a little foresight to see, okay, I can see in 6 to 12 months at the pace I'm going, I'm going to be too busy to run my own business. I might need a team. Oh, by the way, I better not wait for that. I better start implementing some of that now. The second thing I would say is, don't let anybody else's bullshit, anybody else's perception of what you need to be a team leader impact you being a team leader. And I'll give you a great example. I'm one of them. I had a lot of people who said, Joe, you, and I even started to ask you, Alex, about this. Joe, you haven't had enough sales here. And yes, I had sold a whole bunch in Minnesota and everything else, but I took 10 years off and I was in the Army. So I got here, and when I started my team, I think I'd only been here maybe 11 months, 12 months. So I hadn't been here that long. I don't know what my sales were, but I would guess I had 20, 25 sales. I certainly was not a top 1% guy at that point. And I said, I don't care. I'm going to do it because I love people. I got great intent, and whatever I don't know, there's nobody who wants to know it more and who's going to figure it out than me. I'm going to do it. And now we've got systems, man. We got organization. We've got the people in place. We're growing. We got 25 agents, 6 states, 3 admin folks. We're doing it. And we did everything I just said in the last 12 months. So I don't say that to brag or anything like that. I say that because I do not want anybody who truly wants it, to let anybody else's BS statement slow you down. Oh. Screw them. You want to hear somebody's statement? Call me, and I'll tell you you're going to kick ass, and I'll tell you exactly how to do it.
Yeah. I love that, man. And, I'll offer this as well, going one step further, 2 points on that. I think reading into this again, because this is, we can brush over really poignant statements like this. When you're too busy to grow your business, growing your business, might be just adding a transaction coordinator. Again, guys, remember, this is not about that you've got to go out and get buyer's agents. I really want to hammer that point. So you're too busy to grow your business. It's that's counterintuitive. It doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? If you're so busy that you can't grow your business, what are you doing? What do you want? The objective of business is to increase our ROI. Thank you, Mario, for the awesome flames. Yeah. So you really got to be clear that the objective of business is to increase ROI. Right. I mean, we talk about it, but I help people provide a service, all that. But really, the bottom line is the bottom line. The bottom line is to grow your ROI, your return on investment, and that's time, money, same thing. So I think that's an important piece. And to Joe's point, if you're with a team leader that is the rainmaker, that wants to keep you under their thumb, and telling you that you don't have enough and that they've got what you don't have or whatever, I offer you, I want the people that are on my team, I actually want to help them grow teams.
Yes.
And guess what? We have agents on my team that are growing teams.
Yes.
We have agents that are on our team that are growing into other countries. Hey, Eric, what type of international coaching do you provide your team, or do you outsource other coaches? We'll get into that, bud. That's a great question. But I think that is important, that if you're with a leader that has you under their thumb, that wants to keep you there, really be cognizant that maybe that might not be the best people to be aligned with. And there is another option. Reach out to us, because I want to help you grow. I recently saw someone move to another company and they're I moved here because I want to go out on my own. She thought with me, it was on my team. I'm I want to help you grow. I want to help you blow it up. And actually I know I can help you get there faster. So just be cognizant of who you're aligned with. Joe, I think, is, in my mindset here. So, we want to go in sequence here for what you want to be thinking about how to set this thing up. Last week, we talked about systems. We talked about cash flow. We talked about your value proposition and your leadership skills. Okay, so we're going to move on here in sequence. So you have your core business in place. That means an admin team members. That's a transaction coordinator. Admin first. Just can't harp on it enough. An internal TC, transaction coordinator, or pay per transaction, will save you time, manage paperwork, transaction. We're going over old things here, guys, but I really want to hammer that. You're starting a team. If you don't have a transaction coordinator, don't go to the next step. Period. Drop the mic. End of story. Right, Joe?
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Okay. So transaction coordinator is key to remember. Offload the paperwork and coordination from the client offer to the closing. Identify a TC that will take the responsibilities for introduction between clients and vendors, consistent, clear, professional communication with the client, monitor and manage mortgage application, submission, appraisal, order, title work. I'm showing you right here a part of what your value proposition is to moving on. You're literally going to take this and say, as a team leader, if you bring a buyer's agent on, this is what we offer. This is part of your value proposition right here. So we are giving you this. Align with that transaction coordinator, and you're going to realize, wow, maybe even that team leader that I'm under, are they providing me with even more, right? So contract changes, key dates, compliance, clear to close, all this stuff is admin work. All this stuff keeps you out of prospecting and being with clients. If you're doing this stuff, man, you're a bit in the dinosaur age. So I don't want to hammer this, but I do also want to say that leadership is important. That's why we talk about developing those leadership skills, because here's another one I learned from John Kitchens already. Like, you manage agreements, you don't manage people. And what do we mean by that? Here's the agreement. Here's what you're meant to do. And if you don't do it, then we have a conversation at the end of the week, and that's accountability. There's no excuses. You either did it or you didn't do it, right? So, most of these transaction coordinators, like, I don't have to manage Monique at all. Actually, Monique manages me in a lot of different ways, like similar to Candace. You know what I mean? Like, we have goals we set out, like, and she's like, did you do what you need to do? I know she's doing what she goes above and beyond, actually. So did you want to add anything to this, Joe? I think we're beating this horse, but I think it's an important horse to beat.
No, I will say, for someone like you and me who's had a transaction coordinator and an amazing transaction coordinator at that, this stuff is very clear and concise. And I'll tell you, the first time I got a transaction coordinator here in Florida, I interviewed 9. And I don't know who was number 2, but it was a distinct difference between number 1 and the other 8. And it took me a while to figure, like, oh my gosh, what do I want? Oh, this doesn't sound like very much. I'm not getting a lot from this person. And before I hit that one, I was like, wow, this is it. And then for the folks that I've got up in Minnesota, we had enough business going there. I had to get another transaction coordinator up there. When I went to interview transaction coordinators in Minnesota, it was one interview. I had the exact person I wanted. They answered all the questions, which I knew the questions, and it was a piece of cake. And I'll tell you guys right now, if you don't even know the problem you're going to have right now, I'm telling you, the problem's going to be you're going to have 1 million to choose from, and 7 are going to be good options. This right here, this slide, take a photo of it. Literally set this up. Send it to the folks that you're going to interview and tell them, this is what we expect. If you don't do it, don't even, let's cancel the interview, right? If you do it, I need to know the fee that you're going to charge me, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit in the interview. And now you've already got 60, 70% of your interview set up. So this is the answers to the test right here.
I love that. And the only bit that I would offer is, I love that this is what I expect. I would ask them too. So you always find out a lot about what's going on with people if you ask them really good questions. Ask them, so what's your system?
That's awesome.
Could you send me your system?
Yep.
Because Monique's got one that's like, it's like the Iliad and the Odyssey. You know what I mean? This thing is like 80 billion pages and check marks, and we're always adding to it. We're always modifying. Hey, we missed this little thing here. After all this time, she's doing it like, she knows this stuff like the back, but she still has a checklist. Because once you start getting a lot of, we have anywhere from 30 to 40 pendings at any given time. There's a lot of spinning plates there that are at different places. And if you don't have a system, if they don't have a system, guess what? You don't have a system.
Yep.
If they don't have a system, it's just an expectation that they're going to get things done.
Yes.
Right? And you could have an agreement, but then if that one step further, I think, Joe, your eyes lit up a little bit on that. Like, ask them what their system is. And if they go,
done. You're done already.
Yeah, I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
So let's move on. So transaction coordinator, have a clear agreement between you and your transaction coordinator. Like, again, what is that system? How does that work? Whose responsibilities are what? You as the agent, you as a leader. What if you have buyer's agents? What are their responsibilities? At what point do you get the file? What point do they take over? Right. So set yourself up to manage the agreement rather than the expectations. I'm going to just keep hammering that. I thought this was such a nugget that I heard the other day. I don't come up with this stuff, guys. I only just remember stuff and parrot it back and sound like I have a good head on my shoulders. But at the end of the day, having a good head on your shoulders is taking good leadership. Aligning with people that have done it before and being a student, getting feedback. Here's another one I learned. What you reveal, you can heal. So if you get a good coach, you sit down with Joe or I, or you pay someone, be honest, just spill your guts. And like, there's stuff that's going to come up, like John had for me. He goes, I want to know what you did from the moment you woke up to the moment you went to bed. So that gave me, I'm like, oh my God. But guess what it did? Even for me yesterday, I was like, man, I'm not prospecting as much as I need to be prospecting. So right today, I got back to it. I'm like, I need to take this time, this 1 hour. I'm not going to answer emails, nothing. Like, I'm going to just get those contacts in. I ended up getting a couple, and I got a listing appointment from someone that was not somebody that I haven't been talking to. It was from an old list. I went through, got a listing appointment. So my point is, I think that really going with a coach, going and really kind of putting out on the table where you're at. And like Jay Kinder says, hey, where are you, where you want to go? So meet people where they're at, and how do you help them get to that next step? And that might be you. How do you get to that next step? So transaction coordinator, we beat that horse. It is an amazing horse. If you don't, they're gonna talk about efficiency, talk about freedom, talk about comfort. It's all wrapped up into this amazing package right here. If you ask the right questions and you hire right, and you manage the agreement that you have with them. And if they go off of that, then you can say, this is what the agreement was. And if there's a thing with the core values in there, remember, if they go, they're like, hey, look, here's our core values. Like, it's not me. We agreed to this. Like, here's your signature, right? We agreed to this. This is the way that we treat each other. This is the way we treat other people. This is the way we treat people on our team. This is the way that we conduct ourselves. These are our core values. And are we acting in alignment with those core values, right? So this is the next part where it can get a little hazy for people. All right. So Joe, even like when we came on right before this, he's like, I don't have an ISA. I was like, you don't need one, man. And here's how it works for you. So you and a transaction coordinator, guess what? You have a team.
Yep.
And it might be just you and a transaction coordinator. And you're like, you know what? That creates efficiency. That creates a higher ROI. That's what we want for you guys. We're not here to like go, hey, you need to start a team. You're here because you want to, or you're thinking about it. And we're here to offer you what the things are you should be thinking about and the things that you can deploy into creating that. It might be just you and a transaction coordinator. Adina Williams, great example. She crushes it. She's doing 80-something deals a year, still out there. She loves it. She loves what she does. She doesn't have any aspiration to start a buyer's agent, ISA. She has no aspirations for that. She is a good business person.
Yep.
She wants a higher ROI. So what did she do? She went out and hired a transaction coordinator. And she hadn't done it for years. And Adina is I wouldn't use the word machine. She's a graceful, beautiful, amazing, smart, intelligent machine.
I'd say machine. Yeah, that woman's a machine.
She's a machine. And she's just a hard worker, and she does it with heart, and she does it with grace. But my point is she's also a good business person. So she's thinking everything that I do want a higher ROI. She's bought investment properties over the years. She's got a great story. My point is it's just her and a transaction coordinator. She has no aspirations for more than that. Actually, George, her husband, does go out and put lock boxes on house and stuff. So she's got a mini 3-person team going on. But my point is, like, she doesn't have aspirations of getting buyer's agents, all that. She doesn't want to do that. So the next level to this, after you have that transaction coordinator locked in, is you don't have to do it in this sequence, but we have it in this sequence, okay? You could actually go right to the ISA. It could be you, your value proposition to really yourself in a way, or your systems, your cash flow, leadership skills, because you're going to have to lead that transaction coordinator. If you don't have leadership skills, you may have a challenge with this transaction coordinator, right? So there is the management of a person, which is leadership. You could just go out right to this and get an ISA that makes calls that come into you. That is, you're going to have a system for following up on them. It's going to increase your cash flow because you have somebody prospecting for you. Okay, so this doesn't have to be done in this sequence. But let's just say, for instance, you want to do it this way, which is the way that Joe did it. It's actually the way that I did it as well, and I added an ISA later. But you can go with ISA. John Kitchens would actually teach you to probably go the route of ISA first. So hiring a buyer's agent with no slips through the cracks. I would say if you manage them properly and you hire the right people, don't go and hire people that don't have anything going on and they're part-time and they want to work your leads because they think it's going to be easy.
Yes.
Don't hire that. That's why you want to be really careful about who you hire on as a buyer's agent. You got to have a system. You got to have an understanding of what their responsibilities are. So don't think that just hiring a buyer's agent will ensure no slips through the cracks. If you don't hire the right people, you're actually going to create inefficiency because things are going to go through the cracks because you didn't hire the right person. There's a lot of books out there on how to hire and all that. Go get some education, figure out, who the best hires are. So have your systems in place so you can support those buyer's agent. Systems also is going to be, you're going to be managing this agreement that they're going to be signing, and then you manage that agreement. Create a set of standards that will support each agent achieving their weekly, monthly goals. We have a system for the agents on our team. We set out their yearly goals. We're getting here to second quarter. We're going to go, hey, where are you guys at? Our team, I don't even get into that. Our teams actually beat their numbers from last year, the whole year, with another 6 months to go. Because we have accountability, because we have systems, because they can really lean into those systems to help them create efficiency so they can beat their numbers from the previous year. So commit to reoccurring accountability. You better be meeting with your agents at least a couple times a month. I try to meet with them every week. If I don't, then I have Candace actually meets with them, but they get met with every single week. Are you on track? Commit to reoccurring. So celebrate their wins and find solutions to struggles. So Joe, I've been on a little bit of a rant here. Talk about, your process and what you did as far as, going that buyer's agent route after the transaction coordinator.
Yeah. So I don't know that I had as much systematic approach as I probably should, which I honestly think probably every team leader has gone through this growing pain. It's part of the natural growth, right? I do think I went through it a lot faster because I had you with me, right? But when I first started a team, did not have enough business that I couldn't handle it. I was doing fine. I already had a transaction coordinator. So, there was one point, I think in the beginning when I started a team, I had 1920 pending and it was fine. It wasn't a problem. Not because I was amazing, but because my transaction coordinator is incredible. So that was a piece of cake. But eventually it got to the point where with buyers in this market, you have to show the home that day or the next day. You can't show the home in 3 days. It's gone. It's done. So when there's only one of me and I'm working with 12, 15, 18 different buyers, plus my listing clients, plus my agents, plus Agents Academy, plus Treasure Coast Alliance, plus the 7-Eleven, plus my networking group. I could keep going on and on and on. You can't possibly give amazing service to all of these buyers, right? So I just sat my guys down and I said, listen, I'm going to need your help. Let's come up with, to your credit, some agreements that make everybody happy, right? So we've got different things that we do. So either I fully hand them off to them and we come up with some agreement. I should have something that is set. I don't. But it's usually a 50-50 split. Hey, I'm going to give you this guy. You're going to do all of the work. Obviously, you can ask me for help with anything, and we'll just split it 50-50. But I also have a deal where if it's a really good client and I know they want to work with me or they were referred to me, but I cannot make it, I'll have one of my agents go show it. And if it sells, they do no work other than show it, and I give them 15%. So I'm assuming that comment is one of your agents.
I don't know. I think it's one of your agents.
Oh, I don't know who it is. It just says Facebook.
It could be somebody on another team too.
Maybe. I don't know.
Hey, we appreciate you reaching out. And Eric, we are going to get to your question on coaching. So, and that's what Joe does. Not to cut you off there, Joe. Oh, it's Cammy.
It's
awesome.
Cammy.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great story.
Oh, we could do a whole segment on how much ass Cammy's kicking.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so, could she have done it on her own? That's the reason also, hey, we want to talk about, hey, maybe you should join a team, so that you can learn how to build a team. We haven't even gone down that road. And again, I want all the agents that are aligned with me in the Haigh group to, if they want to, go out and start a team,
Yes.
I want to support them. That's the amazing thing about our model too, which we'll get into later. But, anyways, thank you for that shout out, Cammie. Joe, I didn't mean to cut you off, but tighten it up.
Yes. I want to kind of piggyback on what you said, because I think that's incredibly important. I think that kind of like as a kid, can you win one over on mom by lying? Sure, you can. But the more you lie, the more difficult it is to keep up with all the lies. And eventually it's going to unravel. You're going to have some big problems. The same is true in my beliefs with building a team. If you come at a team with, all I want to do is make money, what's my ROI? Eventually, that is going to be a challenge for you. If you come at it with the intent instead, and I'm telling you, this is the greediest thing you can do if you truly want the high ROI. If you come at it with, I want to provide incredible value to the people who are coming to my team. I never want to rest on my laurels. I always want to figure out, this week, this is what we offer. Next week, it's this. Next week, it's this. Next week, it's always got to grow. We're never good enough. We're always going to get better. And you're focused on value, man, does that intent solve so many issues. And when you look at somebody like Cammie was working at Walmart full time. And she's a single mother. She is an incredible person, zero real estate experience. Now she's been with me for 3 months. I'm making this up, but I want to say between the ones I gave her and the ones she's done, I think she's had 5 or 6 pendings and closings. And she's done all of that in a quarter of a year. She is killing it. Everything I told her to do, she does. Could she go off and be successful without a team? Unquestionably. Would she do it as quick as she is now? There's no way, and I'm sure she'll tell you that. And it has nothing to do with her. It's just like me. Could I have built a successful team? Yes. Would I have built it as quickly and successfully as I have? No, not without Alex saying, but I already did that and I failed. Really? So then what did you do? This. Oh, okay. Well, then I'll just skip to that. Good idea. And then I just skip right to it. But without Alex, I'm going to do everybody does the same things, and you fail and you succeed and whatever. So just having that person over you, giving you that guidance is phenomenal. And I agree with you. I'll end with this. I tell all my guys, my job is to get you from point A to point B in a year, with point B being you can leave me and be successful. Now, whether you leave me or not is completely up to you, and I genuinely don't care. We love you. Stay as long as you'd like. But my responsibility is so that in a year, you are able to leave and be successful. If I haven't done that, I've failed you.
It's such a great perspective. It's the definition of magnanimity. To be magnanimous is to be of great mind and great heart. And that's what that embodies right there, that you want others to grow. You don't use others for your devices to make more money.
I'm not even thinking about that.
No, I mean, hey, that's part of it. That's part.
It happens.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's a natural
understand.
Yeah.
What the relationship is here and what the intention is on both sides.
Yep.
And if your intention is to always be on a team, that's fine. Like, hey, I mean, we got Brian Pruitt here as a great example. This guy's listed, $3 million home, just closed on a $1.5 million deal yesterday. Guy's on a team. The guy's open in a country too. So let's talk about that while he's on a team, but we can talk about that later. So back to this. So the next hire, when your buyer's agent are consistently producing your next hire around the corner, again, this could be an ISA for you. What you're ultimately doing here, this is part of your value proposition. It's part of retention as well. And this is something that I want to get into a little bit here. So if people come to you for leads, they'll leave you for leads. If people come to you for a split, they're going to leave you for a split. People come to you for culture. Someone else does some great culture. They're going to leave for the culture. You want to have it be so amazing, and the value proposition, to Joe's point, always getting better, always off. Like, we are on the cutting edge of what we offer our team. I do believe that, and that's my job. Continue to provide so much value that they won't want to go I want them to go if they want to go. If they want something more, i.e. they want to become a leader and they want to grow, okay, great. Like, I want to support you in that. But an ISA is a really big piece. This is what Zillow did. Zillow created the concierge. They call it the concierge. It's an ISA. It's an internal sales agent. What is an internal sales agent? Is a role to cultivate and qualify incoming new leads, prospect for new leads, as well as follow up and nurture past leads on the team. That's what an ISA does. An ISA does not go out and meet with people. An ISA does not put people in their pipeline for them to work with later, because potentially you're going to be an agent. No. An ISA is there to cultivate people on the front end and to move them along to someone on the team. It's a prospecting role. That's all an ISA is. And it's amazing when you can get somebody internal. I've worked on that for years. It's a tough thing to do. But there are corporate ISA companies out there. There's virtual assistants. That's a whole nother ball of wax, which probably we should get as one of our agent academies, Joe, for ISA. Like, what does an ISA do? So it is next level. And back to that, you could literally be a single agent with a transaction coordinator and an ISA. And that's a pretty awesome team right there. There's people out there that run it like that. They have multiple ISAs for just them to set them up on listing appointments. Like, I want to be on listing appointments all day. I got 3 ISAs jamming the phones for me to set me up on appointments, because back to that pie time, productive time is being on appointments with people that are really willing and able to purchase real estate. Hold an AA. Thank you. Awesome. So this is an internal message from Joe there. So the ISA's role is to do that, and that is a huge value add. Now, what does that do? What do people avoid? Prospecting. As salespeople, even though that's the place, if we're not in appointments, that's the place where you're going to have the highest dollar per hour, and people avoid it. I avoid it even unintentionally. I'm like thinking, I'm out here doing this. I'm doing the fun stuff that I like to do. I'm busy, right? And you're avoiding. I'm avoiding prospecting. And that might be for any number of things. But it solves a big problem. Now, we can go down the road of you want to understand the ROI. You want to understand where the business is coming from. So you also are going to manage into that ISA role. You better have leadership. You better have accountability. You better understand what the ROI is, or you can just be like, oh yeah, they're doing their job. And are they? So Joe, talk about this a little bit. I know we've talked about it before. You went the route of having buyer's agents first. I know you looked at ISAs. You see the value. You're really of the mindset, hey, agents, I want you guys to be making calls. You have a little different split too. So guys, remember, again, back to ROI, if you have a different kind of split, a higher split for your agents, then the ISA might not be cost effective for you either. So there's a lot to unpack in that. Joe, do you want to scratch it a little?
Yeah. And that's a great point, right? My agents make a little bit more than a traditional team. But while we provide a lot of things when it comes to training, data, dialers, CRMs, we don't provide an ISA. It's not because the splits are high or anything like that. It's because I haven't gotten to that point yet. And here's a question I would pose to you. Now, remember, I'm an Army guy, right? So I was in the Army for 10 years. My job was to ensure that the guys underneath me could do my job when I left. That was your number one job. When you leave, you better have a replacement who can do your job. So you're always cultivating 2, 3, 4 different people to do your job, hoping that when you leave, you can hand select the one who can do it, right? Well, I've got that mindset now. And I think I don't want my guys to skip over, just like McDonald's. Do you want the manager of McDonald's not understanding how to flip a burger or run the cash register? For me, I don't. I want you to feel the pain. I want you to get told to go screw yourself from 73 people a week. I want you to hear all the objections. I want you to figure out how to schedule an appointment. I want all of these issues to be in your face. Because if you haven't gone through that and you skip right to the appointment, now if Joe Rosen dies or Joe Rosen retires or Joe Rosen whatever's, you're screwed. And like I said, my biggest responsibility is not to my bottom line. My biggest responsibility is to the future potential success of all the agents on my team. My job is to ensure that after 1 year, you can crush it with or without me. So for me, it's really an important part of my mindset that you are absolutely going to feel some of that discomfort, because I want you to be able to do it without me. Now, whether or not you do, whether or not we get an ISA, all that good stuff, that's icing on the cake, but that's part of my belief. What do you think of that?
I love it. You know, at the end of the day, you do want to know how the sausage is made. And at the end of the day, our business, if you don't have your phone ringing, you better be ringing people's phones.
Yep.
And what the ISA is essentially is your phone ringing.
Yep.
So if you don't understand how valuable that incoming call is from your own effort, from you actually like go out, and how many calls does it take you to actually create an appointment? How many calls does it take you to get somebody on the phone that actually is ready, willing, and able to talk to you about real estate?
Yeah.
I think that's an important point that Joe makes, is like they got to feel, I'll use the word pain. You're right. It is. It's laborious. It is the toil. It's work. That ugly 4-letter word that people avoid.
Work.
They do. You know, we all do in certain ways. We want comfort. It's like, well, you can't have comfort without work. It's like you go down that whole understanding of that's the way it. At the end of the day, what people are doing.
Yes.
To create money, to have other people do work for them. I mean, that's what kings sat on big thrones, because they had a bunch of money to have a bunch of people go and do stuff for them.
Yes.
At the end of the day, that's not the pinnacle, because that's not being magnanimous. There were magnanimous kings, but what Joe is talking about is to really have, you know, it's like, I think Jesus said it actually, is to, you know, teach someone to fish. Don't hand them fish. You teach someone to fish, they have a skill that they can use for the rest of their life. If you hand them a fish, then they can eat for a day. There's some metaphor there. You teach them to fish, they'll eat for the rest of their life. You give them a fish, they eat for a day.
Yeah.
So to know how to fish, to know how to go out there. Now, you might know how to fish, but then you go and you make enough money fishing on your own, working super hard, that you get a boat and you know that, you know, someone's going out and fishing for you and bringing it all back.
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That's what you really are talking about. So we got down a little, Joe and I love to go on these side notes. I hope you guys are with us. The ISA role is basically creating some comfort, and there can be consistency in it. There can be a higher ROI. I think it's ultimately very important to understand, if you are a new agent, don't go hire an ISA. Because A of all, your skills aren't even good enough that when that person does get on the phone, your skills are not good enough to even understand how to move them through that call to a potential transaction.
Yeah.
So you really need to have your skills up. We have a morning role play. You want to come in and get your skills up, we do role play. Whatever it is, buyers, sellers, expireds, FSBOs, whatever it is you want to work on, there's a space to work on those skills. Because the ISAs that are out there, I'll finish this point, please.
Yeah.
The ISAs that are out there, they're a super high skill set. So they got somebody to that point where they want to talk to an agent. Your skill set better be as high, and I'll offer higher than the ISA, because they're handing that call off to you. Your skills, like you come on my team, I'll be honest with you guys, you come on my team, you don't get phone calls right away. You don't get live transfers until I know or have a feeling that your skills are high enough where you're not going to blow, because I know how much that phone call costs.
Yep.
$150 to $200 a piece. That's what a live phone call costs. Real life. That's what Zillow, they cost. Down south, they're $275 a call. The ISI complements the agent, does not replace the agent. Boom. So, Joe, your thoughts on that? I didn't mean to cut you off, my man.
No, just going back to that role-playing session, I think a lot of people hear that and they think, oh, if I join your team, I get to go to role-playing. Yes, but going back to the intent that Alex and I both have, right? Our job is to make sure that you can, after a while, leave our team and go do whatever it is you want and be successful.
Yep.
We bring that same intent to the role-playing session. So you do not have to be an EXP agent. You do not have to be on Alex's team or my team. If you're just somebody that we like or, just a little bit can put up with, we'll allow you to come into that role-playing session and take advantage of it. Because listen, you can be with Coldwell Banker, Remax, Keller Williams. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I have to do transactions with you. If you are able to walk through that transaction more professionally, calmly, coolly, logically, because of some of the stuff that we shared with you, that helps us. That helps our buyers, our sellers. So, of course, we want to help you with that too. So it's just creating a better industry. So you are more than invited if you ask us to come into those Zoom calls for role playing.
Yeah, and Joe, I continue that part of what I have written here is to be magnanimous, is to be of great mind and great heart and make our industry better.
Big time.
Really, guys, like you don't need to join EXP. Like come in, get better. So that so as an industry, we are looked at as professionals.
Yep.
That's my goal. So I think you guys get it. And I love that, that quote that was brought in from the Haigh group, which is probably Candace, that the ISA complements the agent. It does not replace the agent. You are not going to go out, hire an ISA and go out and crush it unless your skills are high. Because again, you're just going to blow that. Now, hiring right, a successful, here you go. Successful ISA will have the following qualities: have a clear understanding of personality types and how to effectively communicate with each verbally and written. You better understand what those personality types are. Are they amiable? Right? Are they expressive? Like you want to go by DISC? Are they a directionist? Are they, interactive? Are they, social? What kind of personality type are they? You got to have some leadership. You got to have some understanding of psychology. Who are you talking to? What is the language that they want, that you want to mirror how they're speaking, and how you can ask questions to help bring about more of their comfort level within their own personality type. Getting a little deep here, but that's what a good ISA will do. Comfortable making calls throughout the day. Like if they're like, I'm going to hire an ISA, it's my friend, and they're not doing anything and they would like to make calls for me. Nope. Like you really got to understand that this is a tough job.
Yep.
Being an ISA is a tough job. Some people want to stay in that wheelhouse because they don't want to get in the car. They want the certainty of a check, or they want bonuses for appointments that they set, and they look at it as a game. You can add some game theory in there and, have some, incentives for them to hit certain marks. I was in a coaching with an agent yesterday, and she was talking about, ISA, and it was similar right here. She was like, I think I'm going to have them do this because, they want to do it. And I'm like, and she's like, well, how do I pay them? And I said, well, you pay them by the hour, and you also pay them by appointments met, not by appointments set, because not everybody goes on the appointments. Also, if, people can be a little bit, I set an appointment, but that, you set it, but you kind of did, it's appointments met.
Yep.
So, that's an understanding there. Joe, did you have something to say? You sound like you had a pregnant look on your face there.
No, everything you're saying makes sense.
So self-motivated, goal-oriented, and has a high level of organization. Now, they might be an ISA that you hire and has all this stuff, but you can have the system. So you can go out and hire, the Rocker Box or the Conversion Monster or whatever. There's some great ones out there. But you better understand, again, if those calls are coming in, these things are expensive. Again, this is something that, and again, it can take time for them to nurture people.
Yeah. As
well. So energetic, problem solver, friendly, ability to handle rejections gracefully. You better be ready for those F-offs. You better be ready for, why are you calling me? You better be ready for that. And also being able to move through that objection of like, hey man, I'm just calling to help. Like move through that rather than you're going to get no's. And they got to be able to work through those no's to get to a yes, or that the person hangs up the phone. You got to be tough. So understanding the sales prospect and the company's services, I think, is important. Good understanding of the CRM, the drip campaigns, and the lead flow. This is in-house. So if you outhouse this, or you outsource it rather, they may not have your CRM. They're just sending it over to you, or they're doing a live transfer, and you got to know, how to move them around in the CRM and put them on, drip campaigns and so forth. But if you have an internal ISA, they're going to want to know how to work those systems, how to work those drip campaigns into that. So good understanding of each agent on the team and their respective territories. So when that ISA is sending over that lead to someone on your team, they better understand which agent specializes in which area. You can even get higher level, which agent personality type might match with another person, within that personality characteristic. So they're kind of a good match. That's a really high level ISA. Joe, do you have anything in here on this?
No, all of this is spot on, man. This is all great stuff.
Okay. So moving on. So now you've got your ISA. So guys, this is, we really want to reiterate that the system's cash flow value proposition, that's the foundation. Transaction coordinator, next level. We're going to beat that horse again. Now you can move into ISA, buyer's agent, depending on how you want to structure your team. And again, back to your why. You may not want to manage a lot of people. Managing salespeople can be managing people, period. Managing agreements, period, because that's the same thing. It's a person that you're managing within the agreement. It can be challenging. I can tell you, and it's not that they're challenging, is that you don't have the right expectations. But even when you do have the right agreement in place to meet those expectations of that agreement, it can still be tough. There's different ways to manage different people. You don't want to say somebody's down here, in their skills, be like, why aren't you here? It's like, well, as a leader, I haven't created the space for their skills to get better. So you might have somebody else that comes into the team at a higher level of skill. How do you manage them to that next place? Where are they at? How can you help them get a little bit better, and then a little bit better, and then a little bit better? So I think that's important as leaders. And then hopefully you guys got to see within this, the ISA and how important and what a vital role this ISA can play if managed appropriately. If the agents that these leads come into, their skills are up. Because again, if their skills aren't up and they have a high, and this is a live transfer, that person is waiting. They're going to want to be talking to a professional because the ISA built you up. So if you're like, we've even got to the level like we want to get it so streamlined that people are on floor duty. They're on call duty because I don't want an agent picking up while they're in the checkout line at Kmart. Why did I say Kmart? But they're in the checkout line at Macy's. They're in the checkout line wherever, or they're in the car. They're on Bluetooth going on. That's a $150 call. That person is being met with static and with bumbling around. Like, I don't want that. As a business owner, I need to look at that and go, that is not the best handoff right there. And now who do I look at? Not the agent, me. So I hope that you guys got some value out of this. We're about to go into our next piece here. Is we on time here, Joe? We're at 12:30, right? So we're about ready to go into the next part of it?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay. So part of what I want to show here with our company, guys, is if you want to start a team and you don't want to go through all of this, you can do it with our company. Now, you also can do both. I now have a core team that pays a higher split because they get phone calls, they get live transfers, they get my time all the time whenever they need it. They get our transaction coordinator, they get our operations manager, Candace. There's a huge value proposition to being on my core team. Higher amount that they pay out, but we also have a sliding scale so that as they do more volume, their split goes up. I'm always trying to make it better. I'm always trying to make it better, give more back, right? And I have a hybrid team that we generate leads, and then people in my EXP organization. So anybody out there that's watching this, you can join a hybrid team, do all your own deals, and only pay me on the deals that you do from the leads that I send. So that's another amazing thing you can do with EXP. So any of you team leaders out there that your model doesn't allow you to do this, hey, take a look at our model, because you can partner with people, send them leads, understand what's going on, and get paid, and they get to do their own stuff. Because a lot of things, agents don't want to join a team, right, Joe? Because they're like, I don't want to give up all my commission. Like, okay, if you're already doing well, you could be an agent that's 3 or 4 years into the business. You're kind of doing like 15, 20 deals. You're like, I can't create leads, where I end up working with this 600. We have agents that are on my hybrid team that are working with $1 million buyers. We have agents on my hybrid team that have stumbled across people within the leads that they actually end up with listings. So our model allows for this because it is so cutting edge. There's so many, it's so disruptive that you can start to think of new ways to do it within the model that like you just couldn't have done in any other model. So the way that these other models, they're stuck in a modality, they're stuck in this model that starts with an international, goes out, that person sells a regional, so it's Remax, Keller, Sotheby's, Berkshire, I don't care what it is. They're an international, not a local, which is even, if I was anybody out here, I don't know why you would go with someone that's local when you could have somebody international, especially if they've got you on a massive split cut. Like, I don't even get it. But anyways, it's another story. So the international sells a region. So Remax would go and sell New England. This was back in 1973. Now, New England, that person that bought New England would go out and sell New Hampshire, Vermont, Rhode Island, right? So they would sell those territories out, or that they would sell, a portion. That regional owner could blop it up any way they want. The point is, okay, go ahead, Joe. The point is that the franchise owner is the one that's stuck into a certain part of that territory. So the cool thing about being a franchise owner is no one else can put in a Keller Williams in that area. No one else can put in a Berkshire Hathaway. No one else can put in a Coldwell Banker. No one else can put in a Remax. You own that area. Now, here's the deal. You got to pay a pretty penny for that. And you got to go out with these expenses, which is brick and mortar, managers, staff, all of that. These franchise owners are really the ones that take the biggest risk, because it might be a good thing on the front end, but now you own Blockbuster. And if Netflix comes along, you own Blockbuster. No one's going to want to buy your Blockbuster because Netflix is here. You get discs in the mail. You got streaming. Like, why would you go down to a Blockbuster anymore? When was the last time any of you ordered a yellow cab? Right? Because Uber's here. So all those people, I don't know if anybody knows that Uber is actually, Yellow Cab's actually a franchise. So these people own this medallion, and you would pay for that yellow cab. They got support, and there was a value proposition within it. There was name recognition. There was call routing. You would get calls as a yellow cab owner, but you actually own that cab. In New York City, they were $500,000. Around here, local West Palm, they were like $300,000 for a yellow cab. So now you have a franchise that you bought. That yellow cab was a franchise, and you bought that. Now Uber comes along, you're made irrelevant because now everybody can be an Uber driver. Everybody can be a yellow cab. So now your franchise is toast. The same thing is with the local and international franchises that are out there. Who wants to go and buy something? You have to pay to have that area, and it's a brick and mortar, and you have to do all this stuff, all this upfront cost. Why would you do that when you had something, and you got to go out and get agents? You better have a great value proposition. It better not just be, a logo, a team leader, and an international brokerage that really doesn't offer much more than that. They've got an office. We've got an office. You can go and get an office. Guess what? Nobody really cares about offices anymore if you hadn't checked in a while. Now, you can, if your office is important to you, great. You can go out and actually be an EXP owner, which is what I did. So the way the old model works is the agents are making the money that pay for the manager's expenses, franchise, territory. All of these people are getting a piece of this. That's the way it works. And it was a great model. It really, really was. My dad bought a Coldwell Banker franchise, Joe, back in 1986. And it really escalated his business because it systematized things. We're talking back, like, what did he want? He wanted systems. He was an independent, and he had like 30 agents.
Your dad?
Yeah.
I didn't know your dad was in real estate.
Oh my God, I haven't told you that story. That's how I got into it. My little legs dangling over the thing. He was up on the phone doodling. I was like, man, that's the greatest
This
thing.
is our next chat, our private chat.
Yeah.
I love this.
So he had an independent that he bought from the guy that stepped down, Larry, and sold it to my dad. And his dad fumbled around with it and did okay with it. But he was like, he wanted to take it to the next level. He wanted to grow. He was like, I don't know how to get there. Oh, Coldwell Banker comes along and says, we got a system. We got an international brand. Yep. He's like, man, back in the 80s, that was awesome.
That was it.
That was it, right? That was Coldwell Banker, you know? And I'm not ripping on Coldwell. I'm just saying Yellow Cab was awesome.
Awesome.
Yellow Cab was awesome till Uber came along. Blockbuster was awesome.
Awesome. I love that.
The video person that like sometimes they would have stuff and you'd have to go in and it's like it was old stuff and they wouldn't get the new stuff in quick and they didn't have popcorn and they didn't have any, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like, and then Blockbuster was like, man, look at this big clean store. It's efficient. Like I can go in, right? It was awesome till it wasn't. Till Netflix came. Toast.
Yep.
Right? So we're not ripping on things here, guys. We're just going like there is an evolution. There is disruption. Amazon's tearing apart Macy's.
Yep.
I mean, who's going to go to Macy's anymore? I actually went to Macy's the other day, reminding my friend Laura, said it reminds me of TJ Maxx. Macy's used to be a real high-end brand going out of business. Ripped apart. Gap going out of business.
I would add this. I'm not an EXP loyalist. I'm a loyalist to whatever is creating the most amount of value for me at the time. Now, I foresee EXP being that solution for at least the next 5 to 10 years because I don't see anybody catching up to it for a good 5 to 10 years. Yeah. But I almost guarantee in 20 years, EXP is either going to need to continue to transform, like Amazon has done a good job of, or they're going to die too. And everybody has had their heyday. And right now, EXP just, in my opinion, has the most amount of value. So I just want to put that out there. I am not tattooing EXP logos on my chest. I am completely committed and loyal to whatever the biggest amount of value for me and my team that I'm responsible for, whoever that is. It just happens to be right now, nothing competes with EXP when you do the numbers.
Yeah. Well, when you and I first met, Joe, right? There was that famous meeting between you and I. And you thought I was being a jerk. I was being honest. You said, well, why wouldn't I go and just like start a brokerage? I've got the whole thing planned out. You were thinking about doing it. I'm going to go start a brokerage. And then I was like, he's like, why didn't I do that? I go, dude, if you can find a better way to do it and show me, I'll join you.
Yeah.
And I walked away. I gave you the back after that because it was like, drop the mic. Like, really, dude, if you can figure it out, I'm 100% like, this is about my family. This is about building comfort and a financial future for myself.
Yes.
That's what it's about. Again, I go back to business. Like, some of you will be hey, here's the deal. There's a lot of agents out there that are paying a massive amount of extra money because they like their broker. And that's fine.
That's fine.
Really, that's fine. If that's truly what it's about, is that you like your broker and you're happy where you are, by all means. I will offer that I think some of you who say I'm happy with my broker and I'm happy with where I'm at, is you just don't want to be uncomfortable for the sake of your business. Even though if somebody said to you, if you got somebody come on the phone, I can help you increase your ROI. I can guarantee you that I can increase your ROI. Is that something that would be attractive to you? I bet 100% of those people would say, yeah, I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? So you might be saying that, but what is that's why I always say the game is played on the 18 inches between your ears, not out here. The game is played in here. So if you're really about increasing your ROI, if you're really about creating, is it about your family or is it about you being comfortable with your broker? Is it about your future comfort or is it about that you're uncomfortable looking at something new? really ask yourself, because it's important to ask yourself these questions as a business owner, because that's what you are. You're an independent contractor. You're not getting paid by the hour. Well, you actually are, but you're paying yourself. So what EXP did to turn this whole thing up on its head was EXP basically put the agents on top. They didn't put the international on top. They put the agents on top. And people go, well, how do you do that? Well, guess what? You don't have a franchise. When you have a franchise model, there has to be somebody above. So there's a regional owner, territory owner, then the franchise owner. It doesn't go international franchise. It doesn't, right? And I'll offer you this. EXP is not a franchise. EXP, you don't have to pay EXP to start. You want to have an office? You can have a branch office in EXP like that. I never wanted to be a broker. I wanted to have a team. And most of the brokers that are out there will tell you, and Brian Pruitt has talked to a lot of them, and I've talked to a lot of them, maybe you have, Joe, too. They realize what a headache it is to be a broker.
A lot of liability, a lot of time, a lot of legal issues.
Yeah. And hard costs.
Yeah.
Hard costs.
Well, yeah. We've been talking to one recently who's dealing with well into the 6 figures a year in costs and gets this much value out of it. Yeah. And it's, I mean, going back to the Blockbuster thing, it was back in the heyday, man. Blockbuster was awesome. And would you pay a great deal of money to have a Blockbuster store? Sure. But when Netflix comes along and Blockbuster is still charging you massive fees to maintain it, man, sure does look good to start a Netflix business, you know?
Just saying. If you're not paying attention, right? If you're not paying attention, that disruptor is coming for your business. So what EXP did was really, Glenn Sanford just nailed it. And I'll bring up another John Kitchens. You love this one, Joe. Compensation drives behavior. Compensation drives behavior. So what he said was Glenn Sanford nailed this thing so well because he compensated the agents to behave to bring more agents into the company.
Oh, yeah. That's brilliant.
See what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
He nailed the compensation to drive people's behavior.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same inverse relationship for a customer and a merchant. If you can get a product for less money,
yes,
more efficiently, where are you going to go? Your behavior is going to go to Amazon.
Yes.
Your behavior is not going to go over to Macy's.
Yeah.
Your behavior is going to go to Amazon. You might even go to Best Buy, find out what you like tactily, because you're a tactile purchaser, and then you go on Amazon and you buy. That's compensation because you're getting it cheaper.
Yeah.
You're getting the same product for less.
Yeah.
Because it costs Best Buy that huge commercial lease that they have on the corner, and that ends up inflating the price of their product.
If I can go on just for 60 seconds about how this has impacted me. When I was at the last brokerage that I was at, one of the things I was promised was this amazing training that they were going to put on. Mm. And the thing that really appealed to me was I was thinking leverage. I want to start this big team. I'm going to get all this great training. I don't have to do it. I can send all my guys to that training. Boom. It's efficient and effective. Leverage. I liked it. What happened was a couple things. The broker at most places, including this place, wears 3 hats. Number one, they're the one that we all think of. They're going to help us with all our legal questions and issues. And, hey, I got this problem. They're that person, which everybody wants at every brokerage, right? But they've got a second hat. Their second hat is, I also have to recruit because somebody's got to keep this ship going, right? And if I don't keep the ship going, the ship sinks. So they've got to keep it going. The third hat they wear is they're the trainer. So I got to recruit, I got to train, and I got to take care of your legal issues. Oh, by the way, the third most important thing almost always becomes training. Because if I don't train you, you're still probably going to stick around for next week. But if I don't go recruit that guy, that's going to be painful. And if I don't solve this legal issue, that's going to be painful. So what I found was training was canceled half the time, and the training we had was the same 8 topics every single time. What EXP has done is they've looked at the legal issues and said, here's all your brokers. Oh, by the way, you can contact them by email, phone. We've got work chat, which is kind of like Facebook Messenger. You can go to EXP World. You don't have to wait till they get out of an appointment. We've got so many, and their only job, the only hat they wear is to answer your questions and help you. They're always available. You look at the second hat, which is recruiting. Those brokers aren't recruiting. They don't have to. They pay guys like me and Alex and you and everyone else at EXP to do the recruiting. So those brokers are not canceling appointments with us to go do that. That's handled by us, and they're paying us for it. And then you look at the third hat, which is training. Yes, guys like me and Alex are creating different outlets to train you, right? And that's a value pitch that we give to the people who come underneath us. But forget Alex and I. Let's say we have no internal value to add to you. EXP not only provides 40 to 50 hours a week of online training that you can take while you're at home in your pajamas, but it's not taught by somebody who's been a broker for 8 years sitting in a chair and hasn't sold the doggone property. It's taught by something we call icon status agents, which are people who are doing roughly 30 deals a year or more. These are studs. These are studs in California, Washington, New York, Florida, Texas, Minnesota. It doesn't matter. And some of them are really good at team building, and some of them are really good at contracts, and some of them are really good at prospecting. They're going to take their strength and they're going to give that to you in a talk for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is. So we've got studs doing it. So we don't have to worry about that. And you're absolutely right, Alex. It's because the way that this has been created, and it all starts with who is going to do the recruiting, that makes the one person wearing all those 3 hats, which is a pain in the butt as an agent who needs somebody to give me training, who needs to keep the place going. So we do need more agents, but I also need legal help. Now I've got all those bases covered, and it's phenomenal.
And that's why we get labeled as well as a recruiting company. And I really and I have Jay Kinder did a great post about it. It's like, wouldn't you want to be recruited? Like, why are people so like,
yeah,
like, it's like, man, I'm saying you're great. Like, you don't want to be great. You don't want to be sought after. Like,
I would also say this.
like,
if I go work for broker A makes a split off of the agents.
Yeah.
If I bring broker A an agent, broker A makes money off that. I get to go to lunch with them, but that's about it, right?
Yeah.
Here, they're saying, we're not going to give you the liability. We're not going to give you the headaches. We're not going to give you the phone calls. We're going to do all that. But we're going to give you part of the split on the broker end. You are only monetarily, which why would we want the rest of it? You are the broker. You make the split. I don't comprehend why anybody hears that we are a recruiting company and thinks that's a bad thing. You don't have to recruit, but if you do, it is icing on the cake. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I love that, man. Like, that's so true. Because at the end of the day, I hope you guys see that there's nothing in between here. That's what Joe's talking about. And that's where a lot of now EXP has all the training, has the mentoring, has marketing, has all, you want your sign is compliant. Everything is in the world, which is a proprietary software that EXP has, which is very easy to use. I was talking to an agent yesterday. I was like, it's basically the easiest video game you've ever played next to Space Invaders. Like, it's not, if you know how to do Zoom, you can go into the world. And if you don't know how to use Zoom, I don't know.
You can say it. Yeah. And even if you mess up, there are people everywhere that you can walk up to and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. And they'll say, oh, we'll take care of it for you. And they get you in front of the person you need to be in front of.
I know. And that's one of the things I've heard out there. People are like, oh, it's this avatar thing. It's like, no, it's really, really, it's actually easier, more effective, and more efficient.
Yeah.
And again, this is the 18 inches between your ears. If you want to hear, like, well, I want to go in and talk to somebody, you actually are.
You do.
You just don't have to get into your car.
Yeah.
Like, you actually are going in to see somebody. You just have to shift a little bit of this. But, there were people that actually believed that cars were evil. Do you know if you've heard this, Joe, that thought that cars were not going to be a thing? They were on horse and buggies, and they're like, they did not want to get into cars.
No.
Yeah. So they thought they were evil. They thought they were like this, that this thing wasn't going to catch on. It was stupid. Yeah. They weren't reliable. They weren't back in the day, they weren't. And I let you know, 3 years ago when I got an EXP, it was a little rougher. Now it's like, it's seamless. But that disruptive technology, that's the disruptor. So that's what Verbella is, which is actually owned by EXP World Holdings. EXPI is the NASDAQ ticker, which is the next thing we get in. Actually owns this technology called Verbella, used by Joe's beloved Army. It's used by Stanford University. It's used by multinationals because you can actually do presentations and collaboration within that cloud-based world. And it's a proprietary software that actually, so it's not like there's some companies out there that have their little, operating thing that you have to work through to get things done. Well, actually, Verbella can be used anywhere. So this is a model. I heard this one the other day. This is a piece of technology that will help humanity. And I know that may sound grandiose, but it's the truth. And it's going to rival Zoom because there's more that you can do within it. So I think that's important. You can actually put more people in that room than you can in a Zoom room.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. EXP, they created a stock that actually is owned by the agents. So Joe's first deal, he got stock. Joe capped in like 6 weeks, but he got stock when he capped. There's also when you bring someone into the model, the first deal that they close, you get stock. What other company does that? We're trading at $35 a share. This is not like penny stock here, man. I don't even know where it is right now. It went up to 70, then we split. I got double the amount of stock. Did a 2-for-1. That's going to happen again. We heard some of these things out there, Joe, people saying, oh, EXP really was great if I got in, 3 years ago. It's like, you're going to be saying that 3 years from now? You're going to be saying that 5 years from now? You're going to be saying that 10 years from now? It's a great time to get in when you get in. It's a great time to start a team when you start a team. Yes. Don't be thinking I'm behind. Again, it's in your head. It's the 18 inches between your ears that's holding you back. This is a great opportunity. It's going to be a great opportunity tomorrow. It was a great opportunity yesterday. It's going to be a great opportunity a week from now. So the more you put it off, it's just like that closet that you can clean out and you're going to feel better about it. Just reach out to Joe or I and see if it fits you, or somebody else brought you on to this amazing thing that we try to do here. Reach out to them. And remember, not all EXP is created equal. There's different organizations within EXP, so be really careful about who you're aligning with, even within EXP. Who's your sponsor? Who's the sponsor above them? Just like the system. So if somebody's pitching you EXP, be like, who's backing you? What kind of local support am I going to have? Are they going to have, you're going to go out on the, sunset cruise? Are they going to be, in our beautiful backyard? Do they have offices around this area? That's part of the reason that I started offices, because people do like to have the idea that they have an office. Some of them like to go into an office, which we've created that opportunity for people. So we're traded on the stock exchange. You get stock and you get revenue share. Now, remember, there's companies out there where you get profit share. We won't really get into that because we don't have a lot of time. We got 1 more minute with our buddy Joe here. Revenue share is at the top. Profit is at the bottom. If you have a P&L, profit and loss, you understand that there's expenses in your business, right? That's why Amazon doesn't pay any tax, because they're geniuses at tax. I won't use the word evasion, but they're good at utilizing tax law so that they don't show a profit, so that they don't have to pay taxes. The same can hold true for a business owner that is a real estate company that creates expenses so there really isn't much profit to share with the agents that are in that model. Never mind if they're a dying model, there's going to be even less profit there. But if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, then it doesn't matter. But Amazon versus Kmart, Netflix, Hulu is a virtual solution that has been around and is running virtual. Like, this thing is working really, really well. It's working so well. We're the fastest growing real estate company in the history of real estate companies. 600% growth in 2020, Joe, right?
That's crazy.
It's crazy, man. And it's not like a fad. It's not a goji berry or Monavi or some thing that's going to come and go. Like, this is something valuable that's built with agents that are actually out there selling real estate. And I got to tell you, part of the deal with our model is that agent that comes in under me, I love telling the Gilbert Aruda story, who wants, he's got a pool cleaning service, and I love Gilbert. And Gilbert was with a model where he kind of felt lost. And I was like, dude, I'll help you. He's like, you're going to be there to help me? I'm like, yeah, man, I want you to sell houses. And I am compensated. So my behavior is driven from compensation.
Yes.
Because I know my time is valuable. I'm a business owner. My behavior is driven by compensation. I am compensated by helping Gilbert Aruda. And Gilbert may sell 5 or 10 homes this year. But last year, you know how many he sold in 2019? 0. And he was with a model that gave him training and support. But there wasn't anybody really there's another side to this, that had the skill set to help the guy too. But I won't go too far down that road. The highlights of EXP is that they've made the agents owners. They didn't say, oh, come and buy this franchise. $149, $85 a month. There's your cost for a huge. Joe and I were just, looking at each other's revenue share, and Joe does. I don't focus. 3 years ago, I was like, well, I would love to create passive income. Anybody that's read anything about business, I don't care whether it's Kiyosaki, Trump, Carnegie, whatever, Think and Grow Rich, you have to have leverage. You want to have passive income. The cash flow quadrants, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you want to get to investor. You go from employee to small business owner. That's what all the agents out there that are individual agents, you're a small business owner. So that's, you own an ice cream shop, but you run the ice cream shop. If you're out, the thing shuts down. That's the way it works. And hey, you're making more money because you got somebody at the cashier's check, you got somebody over here, but you're running the thing. And that's fine. Hey, and that's what you want to do. Understand what it is. Then the small business owner is the next quadrant. And that is the person that owns a Subway. It's got somebody else running that business, right? So Joe had to bail because he's going to 1 o'clock. He runs his life by his calendar and not his emotions. So we're not franchise owner. We have the opportunity for revenue share, and we have the opportunity. We have a model here where you can create financial freedom, and we are not asking you to buy a franchise. We provide lead generation through KV Core. It's a very robust CRM. It's only $85 a month for everything. You get all the training, you get the CRM, you get your own website, you get support, and there is a Make It Rain program. So a lot of people, we get to come to us and go, do you have a lead generation? Yes. Start your KV Core site, and then we can make it rain through pay-per-click campaign. Making it rain is sending leads into your site. Great. So what are we? We're an 80-20 split. There are more tools and more education and more knowledge available than any other company I've worked for. Why? Because it's virtual. Everything is available. Walk into the classrooms. No need to book conference room schedule. You can watch and learn when you want and how. This is a no-brainer. Thank you, Monique. And Monique has been in the industry, in and around the industry, for over 30 years. So that's someone who's been with multiple models. She's a transaction coordinator, and she works with other people. She's actually moving on because we're doing some bigger things together, not outside EXP, but within EXP. And she sees that. She saw 3 years ago when she was like, oh my God, Alex, what are you doing? And I was like, this is the future. And she's like, all right, I'm in with you, buddy. And God bless her, love her to pieces. And she brought her amazing daughter, Candace, into our organization because we can do bigger things. We can build bigger things with this model. The model isn't a ball and chain. The model actually is the model is built to serve your brand. That's another Jay Kinder. The model is built to serve your brand. The model is built to serve your vision. Where do you want to go? Well, you got a great support here that's got all this stuff covered. What do you want to do? You want to be an international speaker? You want to be an international realtor? You want to build a team in multiple countries, multiple states, multiple whatever? Or you just want to build a revenue share as an individual agent and partner with other agents that help bring in revenue. What do you want to do? The sky's the limit. It's up to you what you want to do. You're not hamstrung by I'll just be frank, when I was with Keller Williams, I couldn't branch out. I could, they had expansion, but I had another market center that I had to pay another market center cap. I mean, it is the best one if you want to branch out without EXP. You can't do that with the Sotheby's. You can't do it with the Coldwell Banker. You can't do it with these others. You can't create teams in other areas. Even the MLS, look at Candace. We have an agent that's up in Destin. We got an IDX feed from her. We're sending leads up to Destin because we are a state-run brokerage. We have multiple brokers for the state, but the point is it's one broker. So we have access to all these other MLSs. We can drive. You can do things that you never could do with other models. Yeah, leads going live today. Thank you for that, Candace. So 80-20 split, very straightforward. $16,000 cap. It's less than anybody is out there. If you don't understand that you're with a model that is probably taking more out of your pocket than you even understand, you got to look at what a cap is. So if you're with a model that doesn't have a cap, forget about it. I mean, or what does it take to get you to 100%? There's some models that don't even let you get to 100%. It baffles me. But anyways, people have an attachment to brand. Even if that brand doesn't really serve you, the brand might be telling you. I was with an agent the other day that, was with a local brand, and he was saying, man, he goes, I look back on the last 5 years and I got one deal from a walk-in and I gave them all this money and it really didn't have anything to do with the brand. But he's like, I kind of felt like I was associated with this brand. So that helped me get business. But if I really look back on my business, it was all me. And, it took him some time to figure that out. You don't want to be at the end of your career figuring that out. Figure it out early, mid. I don't care. I don't care if you're 50. I don't care if you're 55. Figure it out because you owe it to your family. You owe it to your future self, in my opinion. Cap. So the other cool thing about having a team is that the team members, because they're going to have an agreement, they're going to pay more money, they go on an $8,000 cap. But guess what? All those team members, what do they get? Stock. What do they get? They get an opportunity for rev share. Pretty cool that you can provide that opportunity with the model that you're aligned under. Cool thing is we're with all these other these countries. So we just branched out into last quarter was India and Brazil. Last quarter of last year was Mexico. Last quarter actually was Italy. Fourth quarter of last year was Mexico. We're just opened in Spain, Hong Kong. So now just kind of studying in it. Panama, that's our beloved Brian Pruitt created that opportunity. A guy on a team. When we open Panama, he'll probably have between 50 and 100 agents come in under him. So any of you that are with a model and your country, I'm talking to somebody that's has people in Lebanon. You got people in Bulgaria, it's coming. Any place that a Remax or a Keller Williams, we actually grew faster in the UK than all the time. We've only been in the UK for 2 years than the 7 or 8 years that another large brand was with there. I'm not going to mention them. But because the model allows for growth, the model grows unto itself. It doesn't grow from the top down. It grows from the bottom up, which we are the bottom. We're the agents. We grow it from the top bottom up, not from the company coming in and saying, we're going to put, this is the way to do it. It's like, no, that's the way it was done. That's the way Blockbuster did it. That's the way that Yellow Cab did it. That's the way that Macy's did it. And you can see where those models are going. And every other brick and mortar that is a franchise out there has a similar fate in mind, in my opinion, because they are restricted by their own model that they're in. So I don't want to beat that too much, but we're growing and other companies are shrinking because it's similar to how Airbnb surpassed market cap of Hyatt which is a hotel, high-end hotel that's been, around for a very, very long time, 60, 70 years, something like that. How did Airbnb get bigger than them? Because they're a virtual company. So there's more Airbnb doors around the country, around the world, than there are Hyatt doors around the world, because Hyatt is limited by a franchise model. They're limited by brick and mortar, and it went from the top down. Whereas Airbnb was out there individual, like, oh, man, I got a room I can rent out, and I got a bunch of pictures on here, do a little background check, and I'm in business. Yeah. So that grew a lot faster than the model of a Hyatt. I'm just giving you another example of how disruption and technology supersedes history. This is the way it was done. Yeah, well, people used to ride horses, and then they figured out how to make the horses drive a buggy. People, bow and arrow. The list goes on. Typewriter. Who uses typewriters anymore? People collect typewriters now. Tom Hanks actually collects typewriters. It's now a piece of nostalgia. This piece. So now the typewriter went from the written word to then stamping, the printing press, to the typewriter, to Xerox, to the Apple, to the phone. Like, it's just the evolution and technology and progression. If you don't see it and acknowledge it for coming, and you're in the business of selling horse and buggies, what do you think is going to happen? So I don't do this to rip on other companies or models. I really like to speak the truth. This is the way that I see it. This is the way I see the truth. And I love this company. It's already providing, my revenue share is at a place where if something happens to me, my daughter will be taken care of. That's powerful. I have something that's a true business. And that's, it took me time to get it together. It took time, like anything, and work and effort and labor. Absolutely. But also the agents that are aligned with me in the Haigh Group, they all have this. They all have this opportunity. They all have stock. Dawn's a great example. She didn't look at her stock for like 2 years. And she's like, oh my God. She went into the world. She was just doing her thing. She's not interested in recruiting. She was interested in what I had to offer her as far as a value proposition. But once she then was like, she wasn't even after that, but then she went and looked at it and she's like, oh my God, I have all this stock. Like, she has something to sell. How cool is that? So reach out to us, guys. I appreciate you sticking around, the people that have. I appreciate the people that are watching this later. And, I think you owe it to yourself to at least take a look. And if there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know. Come to our morning role play. Shout out to me on DM. Shout out to Joe. Shout out to EXP people. Just be careful about who you are talking to within EXP, because not all EXP is created equal. There's different uplines. There's different value propositions within EXP. So anybody that's approaching you, really find out who they're aligned with. And then, part of what that is, ask good questions. So appreciate you all. Candace, you can shut it off. Thank you so much.